Hey, good morning, folks. This is Midnight Brands coming to you with prep for May 5th, 2023. It's a little bit before 6:15 here in the morning, but going to go ahead and get started early here, trying to get ahead of a few things this morning already. So I'm going to dive right into it and get into the specifics here. So got good kind of econ stuff again here this morning. I got non-farm payrolls at 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. Average hourly earnings, unemployment rate, etc. There's also, if I remember seeing one of the other places, I believe I saw Bullard was talking this afternoon. Let me double check that here real quick for a second, because I could have sworn, like I said, I saw that maybe it was yesterday Bullard was talking. No, I swear I saw Bullard was talking today. Yeah, Fed's Bullard discusses economic outlook at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central today. So don't want to lose sight of that. That is, he always has something to say that has some kind of an impact on the market. So don't lose sight of the fact that Bullard is talking at 1 Eastern, 12 Central. Site of Bullard's talking today yet. Okay, so with that, gonna dive right into things here. So first up, we're gonna get into SVXY. Zoom out there, reset our zoom level, I should say. So SVXY, from where we took this last night, 65.89. So it's moved up a little bit, not a lot to change into the zones of any significance. So really, as we dig just right into them, first I will highlight kind of nice hold yesterday of closed just a touch below that daily anchor VWAP, but just came down, tipped the 50-day EMA and reversed kind of off of that. So not bad there on that one. We'll zoom in up here. So first zone to the upside, weekly pivot, tier 3, daily cheat, full ADRs. Those will move up a little bit, depending upon where we open, but nothing of major significance. Underneath, we combine the two zones of daily anchor VWAPs, auto supply and demand, what was the all-time high, or recent highs probably, depending upon splits. For SVXY there, tier 2 daily cheat, gap fill, etc. And then under, nice good zone there, 20-day EMA, AR1, daily trend guide, weekly trend guide. If we can manage to close back above that spot, we will flip the weekly trend guides back so that R1 is, oh no, sorry, we're already flipped there. So we actually need to close above this, otherwise we're going to flip the trend guides. His weekly pivot is up here, so SVXY needs to get a close above the 20-day EMA weekly trend guide here to keep the weekly trend guides intact, where S1 is trend guide. Did not mark trend strength reference point, just way in the middle of all of this stuff here yesterday and whatnot. Under, you have your monthly trend guide. You could drag this down a little bit to include the tier 1 daily cheat. I left it there just because it's a pretty big one, just with the 50-day and monthly trend guide right with each other. Under, we get a little auto supply and demand, and we also have our tier 1 end of week cheat, which you can see we just tick for ticked yesterday. And then we end up with weekly trend guide 2, full ADRs, and then we added this zone if we do decide to pull on NFP down to weekly trend guide 3, quarterly pivot. And then just underneath here, these orange kind of triangles are the tier 1 OPEX cheats. Okay, so moving on next, we get into the VIX. VIX had a nice big push yesterday, but could not get past the daily trend guide reversal pieces at all. Just stopped out right there. And so it forms a nice big thick zone today with your tier 1 daily cheat, daily trend guide, monthly trend guide, and weekly trend guide 2. Above that, we have our quarterly pivot, photo ADRs, and then further above, we have the 200-day SMA with weekly trend guide 3 there. and then just a little bit. So you could, in theory, combine these two. They are really close to each other, especially if you ignore. If you were to ignore the tier 2 daily cheat, you could really just combine these into one block as opposed to two there like we have got them. Trend strength is one I would keep an eye on, and VIX right now is at 1896, so it's faded off a bit, but it looks like it's going to be sitting here trying to hold this trend guide. And indices are trying to, ES is trying to push away from its trend guide, and NQ a little bit weaker. It hasn't even gotten to its trend guide yet, so it'll be interesting to see how VIX continues to play out here. Also of note, of course, you've got the 50-day now right in sync with today's daily trend guide. Under, though, you've got monthly and weekly trend guides with gap fill sandwiched between that and the 20-day and photo ADR. And then lower, we have a nice little block there with the full ADRs. Those will obviously move down a little bit if we're going to gap down. But right now, it's full ADRs with monthly and weekly pivot point there. Next up, we get SPY. Really clean zones on SPY. Let's see, right now it's at, call it 407.80-ish. So gapped up about $1.73, $1.80. And so it is already getting really close to this monthly weekly trend guide block here. In fact, it's in it because since it's 407.80. So it's already into this block and past the daily trend guide. So it'll be interesting, especially with coming into NFP here later this morning. Does this set up for a scenario where we gap above trend guide and then come back, test, and go? Or do we set up for the scenario where we come back, test trend guide, and then fail massively and come down and grab really big pieces of evidence below? So have to keep an eye on that. Either scenario could be possible. Just have to watch and see how we react off of that. In any event, above we've got full ADRs. You get the 20-day right there. You could include that as part of the div. It's up to you. I'm leaving it separate. I'm just not knowing exactly how that's going to play out, and would be more interested in the full ADRs and the tier 1 daily cheat that is right there. And then above, we actually have monthly, weekly pivot point with combo point of control. Of course, if we take this out, then we're going to come up here and go grab this stuff, and that would not be unheard of, especially given that we had some, $5, $6 ADR days here in the recent days. Okay, moving next is the Qs. Noted last night. There's potential. There is a trend line. It's kind of a weak trend line, transfer trend line, I should say, because you get the touches up here, and then you get the touch here, touch there. So it kind of sets up an ABCD pattern as well, but it just feels weak with only a couple of touches. That said, it is also gapped above, and it is into this monthly, weekly pivot. Combo high volume node 2, supply and demand high, so it is really all the way up here because it's at 318.30 at the moment based upon kind of where Apple is doing stuff. Which, where's Apple at? Apple to 170.19, so it's continuing to push there. Okay, yeah, so like about we clear that, you're gonna have a tiny little zone here. So let's do this. So if we clear that, where's all my controls? Well, I can't see anything on my screen for some reason. In any event, if we clear this full ADR block here, we really are open until we want to go and attack, this structure pieces here, which would be up quite a bit. But again, $5, $6 ADR days, not going to be unheard of, especially if we open up at 318, 319-ish area. I would definitely not want to short until we see some kind of reaction off of, say, supply and demand, or this this block back here. Definitely keep in mind, like, look, this 321.51-ish area, you can see we poked above on the hourly candles here, but we didn't really like hold above. It's kind of like test poke. I mean, there's not a lot of, it just doesn't give me the warm fuzzies by looking at that. So anywho, moving on, we'll go into ES. So ES, nice sweet hold yesterday of the daily anchor VWAP. That's going to be from March 13th there. Really nice. And you can see that daily anchor VWAP March 13th. There's today there's a gap fill in there. So let's start from the top and then we'll move down. Did add this zone here. So you got added zone, monthly pivot, weekly pivot, combo point of control, lower edge supply and demand, and our tier 2 daily cheat. It also, as you can see, was some nice structure through here. I've got some nice little pieces, sliced right through, came back, tried to test, fail. This was the FOMC stuff the other day. So tried to come through, slice, fail. And so it'd be really interesting to watch and see, what do we attack here? What do we do? Look, if we take that out, I mean, what are we at? That'd be 70-ish points. I mean, there's a lot of space between here and going up to this edge of supply and demand, 4190. Weekly IB stat is up even higher. So, but first we need to clear some of the bottom pieces that we'll get to. And so with those, so first one we got combo high volume node, March's highs, and then full ADRs right here, just below 4140. Underneath, we got a swing anchored VWAP. You got the photo ADRs right in this kind of little block-ish area here. And so, not bad. You also have the 20-day EMA in here, so you've got your kind of the look with the swing and daily anchor VWAPs there. Under though, and it's a zone we're going to be coming into from the looks of it, and we're already testing kind of the lower boundaries because we're starting to get into and test the lower edge, the weekly IB stat low. We have gap fill in here, monthly, weekly trend guides, tier 1 daily cheat is up here. That's the yellow dots. And then above that, we get the tier 1 end of week cheat that we sliced through. So really want to try to get it up and above this 41.15, 41.20-ish area. So yeah, got a block there. Again, already trying to push through this one, which will invalidate this swing anchor VWAP right there on that one. But that trend guide zone is still big, just given kind of where and how things always sit. It also includes yesterday's IB high, so it'd be a really good test if we did decide to come back and test it from above and then go. That would be a good kind of entry point if we could get something like that. My guess from the way things are looking is session VWAP's probably going to come up and join that, and we may even get surf, which is the 20 EMA on a 5-minute time period, come up and join that block there too. Just have to wait and see. Under, you can see we've got the weekly anchor VWAP, April's lows, last week's lows, supply demand, and we added trend strength reference point. There is an NVPOC. It looks like it's the NVPOC from yesterday in there. So got that little block to add. Under, we combined and made this zone a little bit bigger. We did shrink down some pieces of it though. So so you get daily anchored VWAP from March 13th, like we talked about, gap fill, trend guide reversal. Then the bigger pieces will be quarterly pivots, supply demand high, photo ADRs. So it is a bit wider. You go from 40.50-ish up to about probably 40.63 is I think where the weekly IB, or sorry, daily IB stat low was from yesterday. So yesterday's IB stat low was 40.65. So not quite that high. I'll take it up to about 40.62. So Would definitely be one that, you know, maybe try as it comes in, hits trend guide reversal, bounces up for your points, maybe goes back and hits surf or some other piece of evidence. Maybe there's a good high volume node there from today already, and then fades back. But like I said, right now, like, we're already pushing through the weekly IB stat low, and NQ is even starting to finally push. Oh, I'm sorry, it's already pushed through its trend guide. So in any event, moving back lower, so NVPOC, Tier 2, end of week cheat, full ADRs, Tier 1 daily cheat, naked VA, lower edge supply and demand, and then you also have weekly and monthly trend guide 2s with supply and demand and naked VA right there. I'm going to do one other thing here. There, that's better. Okay, so let's move on to NQ. So we'll start up here at the high. So we've added weekly IB stat high structure. You can definitely see how this has been a challenging area. It's 13,384 is right there. We came really, really close to it and just rejected off of it. And then you also had the 13,348 level there too, which you can definitely see, like, we just barely got an hourly closing bar just above that. And at 348 is going back here to the March highs. So big zone there, especially if we do decide to clear this monthly pivot and these other pieces. But before we get there, we have another zone that we added. So Tier 2 daily cheat, structure, naked VA. And you can see kind of this, you know, structure stuff back through here. We tried to go back and thought we were going to go and try to push for new highs, and just rejected off of that, set up this first failure, and then even came back and tried to test again on FOMC and failed back. So we've got that zone underneath. We added full ADRs, naked VA structure here. Again, you can see, like, we tried to push up and just couldn't even get a bar close above this spot here. Under, you've got a swing anchored VWAP from May 1st right here with top edge of supply and demand, naked VA Tier 1 daily cheat. The top edge, I think it already said supply and demand. Under, and this is the zone we are quickly coming into, is monthly pivot, weekly pivot right there together. High weekly anchored VWAP from April 7th and supply and demand low with our trend guide, and low daily anchored VWAP from April 25th right at this spot. It's also a combo high volume node. Again, haven't seen the combo high volume node stuff, take a look at our Twitter account from a couple Saturdays ago where we posted what we were starting to look at and build out with high volume nodes there. I think it's pretty interesting, but obviously kind of jaded in our thoughts on that one, or biased in our thoughts there since we built it. Under, we added this trend strength reference point zone. You can see overnight we came down, tested, tried to push back off. This was yesterday's value area high. Today it sets up for a naked VA. It also has you can see the swing anchored VWAP kind of pushed up through there, and then the absolute low is just above trend strength reference point. Also includes the gap fill from yesterday and combo point of control. And then we move down to lower, so we get daily, monthly, weekly trend guide pieces in there, as well as this week's lows, which was yesterday's, or also yesterday's IB stat low. Added this small little div here, so you get weekly photo and daily full ADRs. These should, in theory, move up a little bit based upon kind of the fact that we keep pushing away. So we'll have to watch and see where these go. The full ADRs have now moved a decent little bit and kind of come up. into this block, or towards the top end there from the looks of it. So in any event, that block is there. Underneath you get your tier 1 daily cheat, combo high volume node. Certainly have this gap fill and naked VA here from just the other week, April 26th, looks like. So you got that, and then lower is where we end up with our 50-day EMA weekly full, ADRs, top edge of supply and demand. There's also the weekly anchored VWAP from March 10th in that block there. So ES, if you remember, I think it was the weekly anchored VWAP was from March 17th here. NQ had been stronger, so it low weekly anchored VWAP comes from the week of March 10th. And last but not least, this would be really extreme. This should be getting down there. Is double gap fills, lower edge supply and demand. So pretty big pieces. Skim through our TY here. Pretty clean zones. You can see. I mean, not a whole lot to say on them. It's pretty clean. It is up, getting really close to this zone here, which is high daily anchored VWAP, combo high volume node, gap fill, tier 1 daily cheat, supply demand low. So it is also trying to push through its trend guide there. And then kind of gets into some good open space until it gets to some of these other upper blocks there. So not a lot to say on it. You're putting in some decent points there, but it's pretty clean and straightforward on its own. It's not a whole lot to explain on it. You can pause the video if you want to see more there. Same thing with YM, gonna kind of skim through this. So got this kind of bigger zone down at the lows. We did split this into 2 zones, so that is something to note and pay attention to. And then we added a couple other blocks. So we added this block here for weekly IB stat low, 50-day EMA, gap fill, combo high volume node. And then we expanded this block up here to include structure and the NVPOC, and you can see the structure kind of right there. Already traded almost 200 points. YM, where is YM? YM is up at 33,376. So it is starting to, is just kind of breaking through this one here. So it's trying to clear this swing anchor VWAP and move up to the daily trend guide. Moving through next, didn't actually mean to include the weekly chart there. It is interesting, and that you can see we just tick for tick. Like we couldn't quite get up there. Looks like I have my chart a little bit too far to the left. But what you'd see here is that 2089.2, which is the absolute highs going back here to, I believe that's August of 20. Well, it is 2020, but I believe it was August. We just missed that, and so that is interesting in that full ADRs is up there today, just above that spot. And presently at the moment, GC has kind of been continuing to fade. You know, since we came up here, had this really big, this was that wick we had just the other night, same day that crude crashed down to like 63 and change. It's pushed up and it's rejected against the AR1, and so it's continuing to fade. It is down to 2044 70 now at the moment, so it's getting ready to fade into this trend guide, weekly trend guide reversal 2 zone, which means that this swing anchored VWAP will be toast. So we're coming into this block with potential divs into daily tier 1 daily cheat, tier 1 end of week cheat. So that'll be really interesting to see if we do try to close beneath this one. It'll also be a pretty good size rejection off that AR1 quarterly trend guide reversal. I have to go back and look and see kind of what gold does when it comes into those annuals. So certainly annual and quarterly pivots are a big deal, but I don't remember kind of what happens when we come into those. Might have to take a look at that here this weekend and see how that looks, how that's set up. In general, it's pretty clean zones. Really, really nice kind of breakout there. Ignoring the photo ADRs here, really would look to see it come down and tack this, weekly trend guide reversal, or dig even lower down back to the 20-day, because you can see like we really pushed and jumped up there on the symmetrical extreme. Didn't quite get to the 5 level, but got pretty damn close to it. So in any event, looks pretty clean. CL, not as clean at all, especially with this big push here we had the other day. That was a massive open candle, 68.30, 68.50, something like that, all the way down to 63.20 or something, I think was the low. So really big pull on that one at the moment. Let's see where CL is at right this second. CL, nice. CL is pushing up and getting close, so it's already trying to push through the tier 2 into weak cheat there, and pushing up into weekly trend guide, reversal 2, daily trend guide, and swing anchored VWAP from April 28th. Also in this zone, you can see we've got a combo high volume node, NYMEX real-time hour gap fill from just the other day. And above that, certainly we have some other pieces, but we chose to kind of keep it right here, and even expanding it to include the gap fill felt a bit much. I mean, this is already a pretty wide zone from probably 60, 95-ish up probably to like 7150 almost. So that's a really wide CL zone. But look, if you clear that weekly trend guide reversal 2, you know, sit there and see what kind of reaction you get off of, say, the gap fill, the tier 2 daily cheat there. Pretty sure that's gonna be tier 2 daily cheat. Yeah, that's tier 2 daily cheat. There's an NVPOC. There's also, it's kind of hard to see because of the NVPOC, but there is this those orange triangles are the OPEX. So what folks were shooting for towards the middle of May, another couple of weeks. Above that, photo ADRs, monthly trend guide reversal, combo high volume node, and naked VA there from the 2nd. And I would kind of expect to see this April 24th swing anchor VWAP continue to fall and come into this zone here. We also marked some structure back there at 72.94, 72.92-ish area. I don't know why it does that. I'm gonna have to take a look and see, like, because this 72.92 is the same thing that's on the daily chart, so I don't have any rounding in there, so I'm not really sure on that. But in any event, moving up, full ADRs, quarterly pivot, weekly trend guide reversal, combo high volume node, and like I said, the 20-day looks to be gonna continue to fall in there. There was another zone marked higher. I did not include it. That is just, you know, we come up here to full ADRs. I mean, is it possible? There's entirely possible you come back and have, you know, multiple back-to-back elevated ADR days. But we've already traded $2. At this point here, it's going to be like 240-ish. So to travel another $5-6 would be an $8 move, and that is, I think, pretty rare to see that kind of a move. And if we decide to go all the way up here, I don't think I'd want to take anything. If I'm looking for something, I think I'd like to see what it does here before it even gets to photo ADR. So do we get some kind of a reaction here off of gap fill, the tier 2 daily cheat, NVPOC, etc. If we don't, then I don't know. I want to try a short at this point. Not to mention that CL has been, I mean, it got way the hell oversold. So it's probably still a lot of people that are, you know, late covers, etc., coming to the party. So I think that is it. I don't have anything else to go